It was a bright spring morning when Ian first saw her. The university courtyard was buzzing with laughter, footsteps, and hurried conversations. Yet for him, the world seemed to pause. Across the lawn, under the shade of an old banyan tree, sat Zoya with a book in her hand. Her soft hair moved with the breeze, and though she wasn't trying to capture attention, Ian's eyes kept returning to her as if destiny itself had placed her there. He didn't know her name, her class, or even if he would ever talk to her, but something inside whispered that this moment would change his life forever. Days turned into weeks, and chance encounters became frequent. Sometimes he would catch her smile while greeting a friend. Sometimes she'd sit quietly in the library where Ian pretended to study but only turned pages without reading. He had never been the kind to believe in love at first sight, but with Zoya, everything felt different. His heart raced every time she was near, and even the silence between them felt like music waiting to be played. One afternoon, fate gave him courage. He found her struggling with a stack of books outside the library. Without thinking twice, he stepped forward. "Here, let me help you," he said with a nervous smile. She looked up, surprised but grateful, and together they carried the books inside. That was the beginning, the first words exchanged, the first smile shared, and the first spark that lit a bond neither of them could deny. Conversations grew like wildflowers in spring. They started with casual greetings, then turned into discussions about literature, dreams, and life. Ian learned that Zoya wanted to become an architect, to design places where people could feel at home, while he dreamed of writing stories that touched hearts. Their worlds were different, yet strangely aligned. She laughed at his silly jokes, and he admired her kindness, the way she cared about people beyond herself. The campus became their secret world. They walked together under golden sunsets, shared tea during rainy evenings, and sometimes sat in silence, just watching the stars. Ian began to write poems inspired by her, though he never dared to show them. Zoya, on the other hand, found herself waiting for his messages more than she admitted. It was unspoken, but they both knew something deeper than friendship was growing. Yet, love stories are never without trials. Zoya came from a traditional family that valued discipline and boundaries. They believed education came first and emotions later. Ian, though respectful of traditions, feared that their budding love might face storms too strong for them to endure. One evening, while they sat near the university lake, Zoya's voice trembled as she confessed, "Ian, I don't know how far we can go. My family, they have plans for me." His heart sank, but he held her hand firmly, replying, "Zoya, love is not about avoiding storms. It's about learning to dance in the rain. If you're willing to stand with me, I promise we'll face it together." Her eyes welled with tears, but deep inside, she felt the strength in his words. They knew the road ahead would not be easy, but their hearts were already bound by something greater than fear. Months passed, and their love grew in quiet resilience. They kept their bond respectful yet unbreakable. Ian supported her studies, cheering her every achievement, while Zoya encouraged his dream of writing. One day, she surprised him with a notebook, saying, "Fill this with your stories. One day the world should know how beautifully you see life." That small gesture meant more to him than any treasure. Graduation came, and with it, the weight of reality. Zoya's parents had already spoken about her marriage to a family friend's son. Ian, knowing the moment had arrived, decided he could no longer stay silent. With trembling hands, he wrote a heartfelt letter, not a proposal, but a promise. He poured his soul into words, telling her that love was not about chains or rebellion, but about choosing each other despite the odds. Zoya read the letter in silence, her heart pounding. That night, she gathered her courage and spoke to her parents. It was not easy. Their disapproval was sharp, their expectations heavy. But for the first time, she stood firm. "I respect you," she said softly, "but I cannot marry someone I don't love. Ian is not just a dreamer. He is my partner in every sense. With him, I see a future of respect, growth, and peace." Her words shook the silence of the house. It took weeks of tears, arguments, and endless conversations. But eventually, her parents saw her determination. They met Ian, who respectfully assured them of his intentions. His sincerity, his dreams, and his commitment softened their hearts. Slowly, acceptance replaced resistance. Years later, Ian and Zoya stood hand in hand, not just as lovers, but as partners who had weathered storms together. He published his first novel, dedicated to the girl under the banyan tree, while she opened her architectural firm, designing spaces filled with light and warmth. They never forgot the struggles, but those struggles became the foundation of their love. Their story was not a fairy tale. It was real, raw, and filled with courage. And perhaps that's what made it eternal. For love is not about perfection or ease, but about choosing each other again and again, through every trial, every dream, and every season of life.